Music theory with Microsoft Excel. Using the major scale formula to construct the major scale off of all 12 notes within the musical alphabet part number 2. Get ready and some coffee because you ain't never seen rockin' unless you've seen rockin' with Excel, which is what we're gonna do. Or in Excel. If you don't have access to this workbook, that's okay because we basically built this from a blank worksheet but started in a prior presentation. So if you want to build this entire sheet from a blank sheet, you may want to begin back there. If you do have access to this workbook though, there are 4 tabs down below: fretboard, example, practice, and blank. The fretboard tab having a simulated fretboard that we will be referring to. The example tab having the completed project, in essence the answer key. The practice tab having pre-formatted cells so you can practice the practice problem with less Excel formatting. But if you don't have any of those things, that's okay, because we're going to be working on the blank tab, which was blank, building this from a blank worksheet. But now we're going to be continuing on where we left off last time, practicing our Excel skills as well as our music skills. Not that those two things are different, they're the same, because our music skills need table creation, and table creation is the thing to practice using Microsoft Excel. All right, so what have we done thus far? We've created our building blocks, which is going to be our musical alphabet on the left-hand side, primarily using this column where we have our musical alphabet in terms of letters and numbers, the sharps and flats being represented with a lowercase notes between the two notes that they're between for ease of use within a spreadsheet program. So hopefully that doesn't throw anyone off. I think it will do more than not throw people off, but make it easier to do things in Excel, which is easier than not doing things in Excel. So in everything put together, it's totally easier. All right, so then what we did is we used our formula, which is the major scale formula, which we'll talk about how to derive modes from in future presentations. But let's work on one thing at a time. Major scale, it's a whole, whole, half, whole, 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 and then half takes us back home. So whole, whole, half, what does that mean? A whole step is skipping a note, and a half step doesn't skip a note. So that's all it is. Half steps are our normal interval, the normal range. We measure like in inches in America, right? Centimeters, right? That's going to be our base unit in essence for music. And then a whole step is just 2 of those. So that's going to be the idea. So once we have that and by the way, where did we come up with that formula? We talked a little bit about that on how the Pythagorean theorem people basically stacked fifths on each other, and they used ratios before they even knew about the 12 equal increments. And then, but now, obviously, we know about the 12 increments, and they've derived this formula. I'm confident about it, so I'm going to think about it in the way that makes the most practical sense, which is to lay down the 12 units first and then apply out the formula, trusting that that has been properly put together. And so now I can build off of it in a way that's easy. I'm not gonna start to think as though I only have a collection of 7 notes and then these collection of 7 notes. No, you have all 12 now. Okay, so let's do it the easy way now that we have all the stuff. All right. So then we built our scale. We named it 1 through 7. We're gonna have problems with scales later. I'm gonna tell you why, because basically I would rather not start like on a 1 per se. I might want to start it on 0 when we start thinking about distances. But I am going to start to use these numbering systems for the major scale as what I propose to be our absolute numbering system for the modes, which we will see if I go on over to the fretboard over here as the items in our fretboard. Here's the numbering system. So I don't care if I'm playing in the major key or in any other mode like the Mixolydian mode or the Aeolian mode. I'd like to keep the same numbering system. That just makes sense. Again, why can't we do that? I want to give a precursor. That's what we're getting into. So we're building the scales, just the major scale, which gives us this numbering system, which kind of makes sense. But then when we start to convert it to the other modes, you'll see that's where the problem starts to arise. That's where haywire happens. Things go off the rails, and I like to be on the rails. Otherwise, because I'm thinking of myself as a train, and if I'm thinking of myself as a train, then going off the rails is not good, you know? Okay, so if I go back to the blank tab over here, so then we have the Roman numerals, which is going to help us know which type of chord we're going to build off of it. So that's kind of a convention I just want to introduce us to. And then we have the notes without the letters, because that helps us to one, memorize the notes, and two, to help us with just the coding. So Excel's saying, hey, I want to see it the easy way, and you're doing it the hard way. Give me just the numbers. So we give it the numbers, but then we converted it to the numbers and the letters so that we get the letters C, D, E, F, G, A, B, A, B, and we can change it with the key up top. So this is if it's in the key of C. If it's in the key of A, I put a good old 1 right there, and now you see some sharps and flats pop up, right? So you've got A, B, and then C sharp or D flat D. Notice there's 2 D's next to each other. So what are you gonna do? You're gonna call this a B sharp. So that's kind of the naming convention problem that you can kind of go through and see that, because all of these should be spelled out so that you only have 1 letter of each. So how do you do that? You nudge each of them as needed, one way or the other, so that you don't end up with 2 of the same letter, is basically what happens, which doesn't sound exactly, scientific, or it's a little weird that you have to do that, but whatever. So now you can change all of them. I can go to a G. So we only have 1 flat on the G, which is another thing that's great on the guitar, another good one to be playing in. But I'd also like to see them possibly side by side. And I want to practice this in just Excel formatting as well. See if I can copy this over in such a way that I can show all 12 in side by side, so I can compare them if I wanted to. So let's change this back to a 4. How can I do that? Well, let's look at all the formulas here. This one is just the numbers. Here we're pulling in just the formula. Okay, and this one's the Roman numerals based on that. So that should be something, if I copy the whole thing over, that should pull over pretty easy. And then this one is pulling from that key. And then this one is this crazy if function, but it's all internal. Nothing's coming from over here. That's why we put the formula thing in here instead of over here. That makes it easier. I shouldn't need any absolute references. And then this one is a little wonky. What's happening here? It's pulling, I'm doing an X lookup to say, look, find that 4 in this set, and then return the related one over here. So it found that 4 and it returned this C. Okay, so when I copy that over, then these 2 sets are going to remain constant because I made them absolute, and that one is going to copy over. I think the whole thing will copy over fine. Let's check it out. I'm going to make a skin. I don't even need a skinny. I'm just going to do it. I'm going to take this whole, let's do it this way, H to L, copy it. Nothing's underneath it, right? And then paste it right there. Boom. And so then this one, and let's just make a difference on the color. Let's make this top bit like blue maybe. Or let's stack it this way. Let's see if we can make it blue underneath. So maybe I'll make this bit like blue just to see that it's different. And I'm thinking I'm making every other one a different color, but I'll do that in a second. So, okay, so let's see if this worked. So you've got, this is still just the numbers. This is now drawing in from the formula. Now this is not right. Let me draw this in from the formula. I'm going to pull over this formula, and that should copy over next time I do it because it'll be even. So I'll copy that down. So now that's formula is correct. The Roman numerals are now pulling from here. Relative reference, that's correct. And then this one is pulling from this note above it. Now I'm just going to make this one static as a 1 because I'm going to make one for every note of the 12. I'm just going to copy this over. So I'm going to make this so it's not, I'm going to make this back to like black and white, because I'm not going to change that one. I'm going to keep this one kind of static, and this is the one I can change if I wanted to. So there we have that. And this is pulling in still, that's a 1, and it pulls in an A because it's pulling in, it's saying, look at that note, and then these are absolute, so it's saying find it in this column and then return the related one over here. So I think that is correct. All right. So I'm just going to do some color coding maybe here. So let me say, let's make every other one like white so that I can kind of see the differences maybe. This gets a little wonky to do this, but let's try it. If I was to say this one, every other one is white, then the color coding gets kind of messy when you do this, but sometimes it's a little bit more clear. And then I can mirror that maybe up top by making every other one like blue. And maybe I make this top bit blue, whereas this top bit, I make it like green maybe. And then I make like every other one green on this side. How about that? And then maybe that, I don't know if that makes it uglier or better, but let's try it. So then I'm gonna copy this. Now it's not even because now these blues and the non-blues are not lining up properly. But let's copy this over here. I'm gonna copy this, and then boom. So now the blues and the whites aren't lining up. Let's just make this white for now. And then I'm gonna make this top bit green. Let's make that green on the top bit, and let's just make the whole thing green for now. And I'll go back through it and I'll color code it later. But this should be a 2. I think everything pops in properly. And all I have to do is change the 2. Is the formula pulling in? The formula is correct because it's now a relative formula reference. Roman numerals are correct. Everything looks good. So now let's just copy it all the way over. I could do the whole row, or I can just do one at a time. And so now, why is this green? This should not be green, should it? That should still be blue. See, this is what I'm talking about with the color coding. I'll get back to the color coding in a second. Let's copy and paste that there. And then this is going to be a number 3. Everything looks good. And then I'm just going to copy that and then go over here and paste it and make that a 4. And then I'm just going to copy that from here and paste it and make that a 5. And then I'm going to copy that and paste it. We're going out to 12. I know this is tedious. Make that a 6. And then I'm going to copy. I'll show you why this might be useful after. I'm going to shorten the columns up. We'll clean it up. We'll clean it up. It won't be as ugly as this. Might not be beautiful. Okay? We don't need to be shooting for perfection, but we can clean it up. We can put some, give it a shower, comb its hair, put some color in there, some color coding. And so this will be a 9. And then this is going to be copy, paste, a 10. Let's do 2 more rounds, 2 more sets. You could do it. I'm tired. I can't push the bar up again. You could do it. You could do it. 2 more, 1 more. Come on. Okay. I could do it. All right. 12. Okay, we got it. That's good. Whew. All right. Let's select all of these columns now and make them as skinny as possible. So I'm going all the way over here. And then I'm going to go in between one of them and double click. Boom. Pulling them in. And let's see if we can do our color coding thing now. So I went from blue to green. So I'm going to make this side blue, let's say, and then let's make the whole thing blue to start off with. And then green, and then blue, and then green to here. And then green. Oh, this is blue. Yeah. What happened here? Something is wrong. Something has gone horribly wrong. This should be green. This is why you do the colors. And then something has gone horribly wrong. And then over here, we're going to say do note names. And then this is the blue bit to here. Something has gone horribly wrong. And then to the note name. Okay. And then we're going to go from here to the note name. Boom. And then there it is. Okay, so now I could color code it to like every other one. So it's a little bit, so you can kind of see, I'm not sure if that's better or not. Let's do it. I'll just take every other one and make it the light blue. Light blue. This gets messy because anytime you add a column, then you got to go back and fix it. Light blue. But sometimes it makes it a little bit easier to see. I've been playing with it lately to see if it is more beneficial. So we're combing its hair now, brushing its teeth, giving it some mouthwash to clean it up a bit. Just do a little cleanup here. Oh, wait a second. I didn't do it. Okay. It's got to be even. Everything should be symmetrical. And then we'll do this. All right. Okay. And then, so we'll go, got some funny music. I tried the AI music for just background music. But then every once in a while it gives me some very strange thing. It's like, where did you come up with that? You've been digging into the goth music section or something. Pulled in something randomly weird. Okay, almost there. Almost there. Few more sets here. I can't do the last one. I can't do it. You can do it. You can do it. I'm gonna drop it. I got you. It's gonna, even if we're gonna, okay. Whew. All right, we did it. Okay, so then, notice that we could compare these by hiding cells, right? So I might want to compare like this one and this one. So how can I do that? I could hide from here to here, right? And say I'm going to right click and hide. And then I could hide from here to here, right click and hide, right? And then I could hide from here to here, right click and hide. So now I can see, C compared to A, compared to A sharp or B flat. And so that's one benefit of putting everything in like a off to the side this way, because then you can have multiple columns, which we'll do multiple times in our projects, and then you can easily hide them. Similar to what I'm doing over here in the fretboard, we'll build this one for our final project. And notice I've put together this worksheet, which I know looks kind of messy. We'll talk about it later, but it gives us all the notes and everything we need. I'm going to compact as tightly as possible so that you can practice with it here. And so everything we learn, we're going to then condense it down to as tight as possible, and that will be our kind of final project over here. But if I want to see this fretboard in something other than this format, like I just want to see these areas, then I can unhide and right click and unhide. So now I can see it in terms of note numbers, and then I can see it in terms of just the note numbers that are in the scale that we're in. I can see it in terms of all of the note numbers and the letter numbers, and then I can see it this way, and this is seeing it just in terms of the modes or nodes positions, and then this is both the modes and both. And if I want to see this compared side by side, I can select all of this stuff and say, why do you need all that stuff? It's going to mess everything up. But you can just hide it. if I wanted to. So now I have the option all packed in here. So when I study, hide, I have a super study worksheet. Everything is super packed in and unpackable and packable back together. That's the power of Excel. And so seriously though, I mean, like if you're messing around with this music theory stuff, something like this is super helpful. If you can, and the better you can maneuver it around in Excel, I think it's just like accounting. I mean, I know I'm an accountant. Like that's weird. Like that's weird. Why are you comparing it to accounting? You're turning me off, man. I'm trying to do music here. You're talking debits and credits. I'm telling you, debits and credits can be fun, man. Debits and credits. But it's like Sudoku. It's like Sudoku. But seriously though, that's useful. All right. In any case, let's go back to this one so we can do that. So let's unhide it now. See if we can clean it up a little bit further. So the unhide, I'm going to go from H to W and then right click and unhide. All right. So then I kind of like to follow along up top and maybe color code these to make the black ones line up, to make it like this. I'm getting kind of picky now. So see, now you got every other column, but I keep the top one striped in the different colors so I can see that it's all, you know, in the same area. So I'm going to say like this one, all of these I'll make black. So make it look nice. All right. All right. Bring this over here. Okay. Perfecto. Just like Mundo would do it. And Mundo is a perfectionist. That's why I coined the phrase that no one's ever heard before called Perfecto Mundo. Because my friend Mundo is a perfectionist. So if I can get it the way Mundo does it, who's a perfectionist, I call it Perfecto Mundo. Perfecto Mundo. Okay. So we'll just copy this down. And I'm just kidding. I didn't coin the phrase. But we got to clean this up or else it's madness. It's madness. I'd like to introduce you to someone. It's madness. Okay. I'm going to say, let me say this again. I was trying to come up with my joke practice. This is madness. This is madness. I'd like to introduce you to someone. This is madness. Madness is crazy. We're trying not to get mad at madness. We're just trying to help madness be less crazy. Put madness back, help them on the right path over here. So with less shrubbery in it so you can see where you're going. You got to get on the right path where it's not, unless you got a hatchet, you need to get on the path that has less shrubbery in your way. All right, so that's going to be basically it. So now we've got it all side by side. So now I can change this one to whatever we want. But then if I want to compare any other mode to it, I can change this to whatever I want and then like hide to whatever other one is over here. Like if I want to go hide this from here to like this one, which is the B, I can hide it that way and I can see them then side by side. So this gives me the scale form, and I could, if I don't want these, I can hide these. Or if maybe I just want the Roman number so I can see what kind of chords to build from it. So then I can hide like that. And so now I can see the Roman chords. So if I was in the key of G, you'd have a major chord here, major, major. But if I was in the key of B, here's the major, 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 the 1, 4, 5, right? And then if I want to see multiple together, then of course I can hide more columns. And if I want to, if I want to see this one over here as well, which is the 5, let's do the 6, which is D. So I get a nice non-Sharpie one. Right click and hide. Hide. And then boom. So now we've got the key of G versus B versus D. And so we can see them kind of side by side. So that's a pretty nice worksheet. Again, it's not, when we do our final project, I'll kind of try to compile everything together in our fretboard over here, but we won't be able to do everything right? So being able to build like tables like this, so you can kind of compare and contrast things, something like this would be, again, highly useful. I believe, like, honestly, like any music, if you're doing music major and none of your colleagues are doing this and you know how to do this, like, I think you'll be able to pick this stuff up way faster than they will, because it's just like playing your guitar. It's like if you were trying to learn to play the guitar, but you never got to actually play the guitar with your fingers because you're a tactile learner. And then you're trying to learn the music theory without actually typing it down in like a spreadsheet and moving it around and tinkering with it till you get it right. That's what you're doing here. You most likely, if you like tinkering around with the guitar, you're possibly a tactile tinkerer type person. So you maybe you don't like numbers, but you should be just tinker with the Excel. You might be into it, man, or it's probably something that could be it's good times. I'm telling you, better than most stuff. I'm gonna unhide here. I don't know what I'm talking about, but I'm gonna unhide. That's where it is. We'll leave it there.